the ecosystem is not ripe yet. We're manufacturing in itself in India. We are significantly behind China. We wanted to develop our own technology, have patented technology that can be manufactured in India. Emvolio is the world's first product pre-qualified by WHO as an active cooled vaccine carrier. ICMR did a study and they found that about 65% of vaccines in India are subjected to suboptimal temperature before they're administered. We were at the intersection of three spaces that generally startup companies don't like to operate in. 23rd of March 2020 when the lockdown was announced. I think 3 days I stayed inside my home. I was in my room for 3 days, and then there were news on how there are false negative test cases arising attributed to improper sample handling. And I immediately went to the district commissioner's office and I told him that we have a technology, I have the raw material, I just don't have the manufacturing capacity to assemble it. So please let me operate, help me open up my facility, and I will assemble it and give it to you for free.
Welcome to Jigyasa, an initiative by IIHMR startups where we bring policymakers, leaders, innovators to discuss upon innovations, issues, challenges. Hi, I'm Drishti Pathak, and today's guest is a person who contributed to India's last mile vaccine delivery, the CEO of Blackfrog Technologies, Mr. Mayur Shetty. So Mayur, how does it feel to, after so many years since you have completed your engineering at MIT, to come at a university campus? Like, does it bring back any sense of nostalgia or any special moment of your college time?
Thank you. Thanks, Drishti, for having me over. It's very nice here in IIHMR campus in Jaipur. I think it brings back a lot of warm memories of that excitement just towards the end of college. I think a lot of you are finishing your placement, getting into your new workplace. It's a super exciting time, and I'm thrilled to be amongst all of you.
Okay. So nothing else like of your college time, like what you did, any memories?
So I see a lot of excitement and energy around the incubation center. So that definitely brings back a lot of college and post-college memories for me. I think just the sense and the excitement of the unknown. That's really what I'm seeing.
So speaking of the students and college, there's a common dilemma. Like I should rather say it a issue like students face actually. They have to choose between the placements and the startup. They want to start a business and this these things. So what do you believe? Like they can make more social and economical impact through entrepreneurship. Like is it important for them to look towards entrepreneurship rather than just relying on the conventional jobs?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a personal choice to begin with. Entrepreneurship is like any other career, right? It has its own perks, it has its own pros and cons, it has its own challenges. It's important to get into it knowing all facets of it. Probably the only way to do that is to talk to other fellow entrepreneurs. But considering that there are no specific schools as such, right? And you want entrepreneurs coming out of not just management institutes, but every other form of institution as well. But I think if you are going to go down this path, if you are getting into entrepreneurship, I think your early 20s or just immediately after your college is the most appropriate time. You don't have the kind of liabilities that come as you get older. I think you have the appropriate energy. You don't have the kind of responsibilities.
It is.
I don't think there is a better time than just out of your college to jump into this. I mean, the failure rate is very high. 9 out of 10 startup companies fail, right? And you want to fail fast. I think that's what is most crucial. You don't want to drag something along and then like fail at a later point, or as you get older and your responsibilities increase and then you jump into entrepreneurship, which is very risky to begin with, right? So I think just right out of your graduation is probably the most appropriate time.
Speaking of the impacts, you come from a small town, right? And you have seen the everyday challenges people face there. So what challenge or what problem you observed that made you feel like, yes, this needs a real solution?
Yeah, certainly. I come from a place called Udupi, which is in coastal Karnataka. It's a beautiful place. We have the beaches on one side and the Western Ghats on the other. It's a wonderful place to live. And incidentally, we have about 15 to 20 engineering institutes in like a 20-25 kilometer radius.
Okay.
Some of the sharpest minds of the state, both from 10th standard, 12th standard, and even the engineering institutes for that matter. Unfortunately, after you're done with your graduation, there aren't a whole lot of economic opportunities. I mean, we're still predominantly dependent on agriculture, so not a lot of industrious activities going on. And that was kind of an eye-opening moment for us, for both my co-founder and I, when we graduated from college, and we realized that the next logical step for us is to move to Bangalore, right? We have incredible professors and the ecosystem is amazing. It's just that after you're done with your graduation, unless you are continuing to teach, you have to shift to Bangalore. That's something that we really didn't want to do. I think a large part of it came from our reluctance to leave from our hometown. That's also primarily why we chose our space. We realized that as we went about developing medical devices, when we zeroed in on Emvolio and started working on the vaccine challenge, we realized that we're from a small town, so there's a lot of competitive advantage. Cost of living is low, access to talent is great, but the solution cannot be focused around there, right? Like we can't be selling to customers who are around us. So we wanted to choose a larger problem, like a global health problem, and immunization is definitely one of those, right? Immunization has been at the forefront of public health efforts. I think one of the most successful and cost-effective health interventions known to mankind. And we realized that there was a gap in logistics and engineering when it came to immunization efforts, and that's the reason we jumped at it and we wanted to solve that.
So solving this challenge would have required the clinical understanding, right? How did you get that actually?
Yeah, so Manipal incidentally has a very vibrant healthcare ecosystem. We had a lot of doctors, academicians, research scholars, health workers in and around us. But I think we benefited a lot from the Kasturba Hospital, who's the hospital tied with Manipal Academy of Higher Education. So we would work with the community medicine department there. The then head of department, Dr. Suman Iyer, was an incredible gift to us. We were able to kind of build the value proposition for the product and kind of demonstrate the effectiveness in the field. I think, I'm a firm believer in the saying that it takes a village to raise a child, right? But it also takes a nation to build a startup company. There's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of efforts, and a lot of people coming together to build a solution. So I don't think it was me or my co-founder or even my team for that matter. I think a lot of concerted efforts from a lot of places have culminated in Emvolio.
Okay, what makes Emvolio stand apart? Like how it is better than the traditional cold chain management methods?
Sure. Emvolio is the world's first product pre-qualified by WHO as an active cooled vaccine carrier. So let me just tell you what an active cooled vaccine carrier is. Traditionally, the way that we carry vaccines are through what is known as passive carrier. So a passive carrier has no active cooling. In that, it means there are ice packs or gel packs in insulated containers. So there is no active regulation of temperature. If the ice packs are at 4 degrees, the chamber will be at 4 degrees. If the ice packs are at minus 10 degrees, then the chamber is going to try to bring it down to minus 10. So there is no active regulation, and that's a challenge because the outside temperature is dynamic. It could be 30 degrees, it could be 43 degrees. In Rajasthan, it goes up to 45, 50 degrees. And in Manipur, it's sometimes 10, 15 degrees Celsius. So the same ice pack will not behave the same way across the globe, right? And that's a huge challenge. And ICMR did a study and they found that about 65% of vaccines in India are subjected to suboptimal temperature before they're administered across 10 states. And that's a huge challenge because we are carrying biologicals, we're carrying blood culture, serum, sputum, all of these biologicals in temperature that is suboptimal. It can lead to either loss of potency, it could lead to false negative test results. And that's the problem that was acknowledged, and that's the reason that there was a category of active cooling that has come in. And active cooling implies, like Emvolio, there is a regulation mechanism. There is a system that will see what is the temperature. Let's say you want 4 degrees Celsius inside your chamber. If it's 4 degrees, it will stop refrigeration. If it's 5-6 degrees, and the refrigeration kicks in again. So it balances that appropriate set temperature regardless of what the ambient temperature is.
So making this would have brought many challenges, I guess. Struggles and rejections and competitors. So what's your take on this?
I think we were at the intersection of 3 spaces that generally startup companies don't like to operate in. First one is in public health, because it's a huge washed ecosystem. It's much harder for a smaller company to crack in as opposed to a larger established company. Adoption is very slow. There's a lot of inertia in the space. So generally building new interventions in public health is a challenge. Second one is it involves working with large organizations, government bodies, development agencies. Again, a huge challenge for a startup company to be working among all of these multiple players in the ecosystem who have a rigid way of operating. The third one is probably the most challenging one, which is manufacturing hardware technology in India. I think the ecosystem is not ripe yet. We're still a maturing ecosystem. Manufacturing in itself in India, we're significantly behind China, and that's the reason we need to do it, and that's been our objective, to kind of be a part of the manufacturing economy that India is trying to be. And we want to be at the forefront of developing cutting edge medical technologies. We do not want to manufacture LED bulbs or small 100-year-old technology. We wanted to develop our own technology, have patented technology that can be manufactured in India. And today we're doing that. This is something that the inception started in Manipal. The design, the iteration, prototyping, calibration, the certifications, regulatory affairs, manufacturing, even after sales, everything is happening from our facility in Manipal, and that's something we're very proud of.
That is great. Okay, so challenges you must have been facing in terms of investments. Yeah, and also the competitors. You must be having competitors, right?
Right, sure, certainly. In terms of investment, I mean, like I said, the holy trinity of manufacturing and public health kind of bring its own challenge, and that's not without a good reason. Investors, specifically venture capital investors, they have a horizon of when they want their return on investment, which is typically not more than 8 to 10 years. And in our space, the gestation period of medical devices itself is very long. It took us about 4.5 years of R&D to develop the product, and then subsequently about 2 years of like compliance and regulatory pathway. And that's typically not acceptable to most investors. We've been fortunate to have some of the most patient and loving impact investors on our board. Who've been super patient, and they've supported us throughout our journey. I mean, I don't want to name each of them, but I know that every one of them has not just been an investor. They've been a customer to us. They've been a partner. They've been an advocate for us. And I think that's very critical for any new companies, specifically technology company trying to build social impact. That network is very necessary. In terms of challenge from the competitors, I think the primary competitors for us is the norm, the existing conventional way of carrying biologicals, right? And that's a huge Goliath that we are fighting against. It's a $1 billion industry of manufacturing plastics and ice packs. It's not easy, and even the ecosystem has been using the solution for 30-40 years. I mean, India has had a very successful universal immunization program. Things work, right? So why fix something that ain't broken? So we are in an uphill battle, but we are definitely in it for the long haul. I mean, we've been persistent about it, and I hope that we stay that way.
So who was who are the people who were there from the day one with you, who supported you from the day one?
Yeah, certainly. I think my co-founder is number one in that, Donson. I've known him for about 20 years now. He's my school friend. We went to college, and he's the first person I had to quote-unquote brainwash into joining this journey with me.
Yeah.
And I think even the rest of the team, I mean, we have about 3 VPs now. We have some senior managers. A lot of them are people I've already known from school, college, or from the industry. And that's primarily been my way of hiring. It's just my personal way of kind of knowing somebody firsthand in my personal life before I bring them into my work life. And I think that's really worked out for me. I know the temperament. I know that this person is reliable, trustworthy, competent. It's very slow. It takes a long time, firstly to identify the right person, and then to kind of ensure that like there is a fit for both of us, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the most appropriate. I mean, I believe in the arranged marriage for my colleagues. Where if there are references and yes.
So from your perspective, how important is the team?
Sorry, I think that's number one. I mean, I don't think the product, the technology or the market matters. If the team is not appropriate, then it's just research. right? You're building something, but it's not going to roll out because execution is everything end of the day, right? And you want trusted comrades next to you to ensure that not when it fails, but it will fail.
Okay.
So you want colleagues who's got your back and ensure that there's continuity in what you do. And I think that it certainly is the most crucial thing.
So how did you and Donson divide your roles? Like it's complicated in the beginning. So how did you do
it's a very interesting question because I think primarily why this relationship has worked is because we're such different people. We're constantly fighting all the time because we're just very different fundamentally.
Okay.
And I think that's what is most important, right? You don't want to work with people who are exactly like you. Then what is the point of having the other person, right? And both of us are incidentally trained as engineers, but today neither of us call ourselves engineers. I mean, I have completely gone into business development and kind of identifying the market for appropriate products, whereas he looks at operations and the manufacturing aspect itself. And that's kind of how we've divided work between us. And we have a unspoken rule of not undercutting each other. Where
that is great.
Yeah, where we trust each other.
Necessary, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we trust the other person to take decisions on behalf of both of us. And it's worked out quite well for us.
Okay. Okay. Also, I'm curious about the phase that was a major setback for everyone, I guess, the COVID phase actually. So during the COVID, what was your strategy to, evolve this Emvolio, your Blackfrog technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think COVID was kind of absolutely did shake all of us. And I mean, even for us, we had just started setting up manufacturing and it's the absolute worst time to manufacture anything, right? The entire supply chains are cut off. We had, when COVID struck, we had exactly one product in the field. Okay. One hospital was using our product. So we had demonstrated that the technology works, but there was no way of kind of manufacturing or kind of repeating what we're doing, right? So I think COVID struck sometime in 22nd or 23rd of March 2020 when the lockdown was announced. I think 3 days I stayed inside my home. I was in my room for 3 days, and then the fourth day I started getting very itchy. And I think towards the end of that week is when there were news on how there are false negative test cases arising.
Yes.
And a lot of it has been attributed to improper sample handling. So we realized that this is a way we could kind of help with this effort. And I immediately went to the district commissioner's office and I told him that we have a technology. We don't want to sell this. We can make about 15-20 units free of cost because I have the raw material. I just don't have the manufacturing capacity to assemble it. So please let me operate, help me open up my facility, and I will assemble it and give it to you for free. And the DC office was very empathetic to this. They're very kind. They said, okay, sure, go ahead. And I got the COVID passes for about 7 or 8 of us colleagues. And we just got to work. We worked about 15-16 hours every single day for that 15-day period. We assembled all of the 10-15 units ourselves and we rolled it out. So we were able to help transport the COVID-19 specimens. The samples had went for testing. So this was early onset of COVID, right? And then by 2021, when the vaccines finally got approved for use, we realized that vaccines require that same temperature range. And that's when our work became a lot more relevant. So immediately after that, we started working with state national health missions to ensure that the vaccines could be delivered to very rural and remote areas. And one of our first deployments was in Manipur. And the Assam Rifles stationed in Manipur on the outskirts of Imphal district, they got their COVID vaccines which were delivered through our Emvolio device. So I think a lot of work kind of got reinforced through COVID because India is one of those countries that trusted the vaccine wholeheartedly. And that's very heartwarming to know. I mean, even when the West was rejecting vaccine and there was so much vaccine hesitancy, I think in India especially, I mean, all of us went out of our way to ensure we get immunized. So it was broadly a very proud moment for us to be a part of.
Okay. Also, other than vaccine delivery, what lies ahead for Emvolio? What else Emvolio can do?
Sure. We work quite a lot with the private sector organizations. Some of the leading pharma companies trust us, leading research organizations, contract research organizations, academia, life sciences. They trust us for transport of samples, specimens, even organs for that matter. We work with pharma companies mostly for the quality control requirements.
Okay.
Like from manufacturing back to R&D, the samples are taken back to ensure that it meets their appropriate standards. And they have a lot of very stringent audit requirements. So
Okay.
Envolio has an inbuilt GPS system on board. We're able to generate reports on what was the temperature, create accountability on where did the asset go, was it maintained in appropriate conditions. So that's another area of focus for us apart from vaccines. But I think the focus for us as Blackfrog, Envolio is just 1.5 liters.
Okay.
We have a new range of products for monitoring of existing refrigerators today.
Okay.
This is a machine learning platform that ensures that health workers or end users know if a refrigerator is going to break down ahead of time. So it's able to study refrigerator characteristics, the condenser temperature, evaporator temperature, power availability, all of this it's able to study and tell you whether your refrigerator is going to break down, so that you're able to save the contents so that they don't go to waste. That's the immediate next step for us. The larger objective for us at Blackfrog is probably on transport of organs also.
Okay.
We want to ensure that the lungs, kidney, liver that are transported, they are maintained in temperature that is appropriate between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius. That's something that we want to bring.
Okay. So since Envolio is a solar compatible device, what's your views on renewable energy or environmental concerns these days?
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, can I? Yeah. Do I just answer or?
No, you just answer.
Okay. Yeah. So Envolio is solar compatible in two ways. One, it plugs into existing DRE setup. A lot of the health facilities today are being solar powered already.
Okay.
But incidentally, we also have our own proprietary solar panels, which are kind of like briefcase. So you health worker is able to carry the briefcase. You open it up, it opens into a solar panel, plug it into Envolio, and it continuously runs around the year. So there is absolute independence from the grid, where you don't need to depend on the grid power at all. So this, apart from the power in itself, it's also helping in building a climate resilient health system where we are ensuring that if there are any calamities, like for example, there are floods or hurricanes and cyclones that break the grid, the health facility is able to continue immunization services. We have an interesting project with an organization called PRIO, who has funded us to equip 40 health centers in the Fiji Islands. Island nations are most at risk with these climate-induced disasters. So we are equipping these health centers and making them climate resilient right now. So that's part of the next step with the portable solar panels.
Okay. Anything on the renewable energy or the environmental concerns you would like to talk about?
Sure. I actually, even from a design standpoint, Envolio is highly energy efficient and designed in an eco-friendly manner. So just to give you a bit of context on that, one, in terms of power consumption, it's a highly energy efficient system.
Okay.
Consumes just 24 watts of power, probably less than the lighting in this room today. But there's also the aspect of the fact that the design is not based on traditional vapor compression refrigeration. You have traditional refrigerators which have a motor, compressor, and then there is a noxious coolant, right?
Okay.
So we depend on none of those. There are no noxious coolants or refrigerants. We operate on a principle called solid state cooling, which is super clean. There's no risk of any leakage of greenhouse gases or any adverse cross contamination.
Okay. So next, I would like to ask about the Indian government, actually, the main concern, I guess. So how did you get to connect with the Indian government, the grants, the investments, the funds?
Yeah, I think from an investment standpoint, I would like to highlight one particular organization which is very close to my heart. That's BIRAC.
Okay.
BIRAC is Biotechnology Ignition Research Assistantship Council.
I know that.
And they have a couple of flagship programs. I think we've been part of multiple programs now. BIRAC has been like a mother to us at Blackfrog. They've supported us right from the time of inception, where we got the BIG grant to develop the proof of concept. And that's very important because public health requires granting aids. We cannot be expecting private investment to go into developing high risk technologies, right? Private investors just don't have that kind of risk appetite. And BIRAC has been super benevolent about that. They've funded us, they've supported us, they've helped us with multiple programs, events. Not just the proof of concept, but even for validation, we were able to raise our follow-on seed investment from Bayrak, which was implemented through Venture Center. We're currently working on another project called BIPP, which is another flagship program of Bayrak to build digital traceability in the vaccine supply chain. So this organization is very close to my heart because all of both the founding team and the current operations team, they're some of the smartest minds in the country. These are scientists who've designed the program, who understand what India needs in terms of both technology and commercialization. And I think I owe a lot of our success at Blackfrog to Bayrak.
Oh. So how did your journey move towards international boundaries? Like when did you got to know that, yes, we can take it to the global level?
Right. So WHO pre-qualification was a huge check mark of credibility for us. It kind of opened up the door for the UN nations that are in require of immunization support. We started our work in Kenya and Nigeria first. That we started in 2024. And we have some incredible projects going on in Africa today. Specifically the Kenya one, it's very close to our heart. Our entire team has been traveling multiple times. We've been training the health workers in Samburu and Isiolo counties.
Yeah, I saw your recent vlog on the Nigeria campaign.
Yeah, so in Nigeria, we're working with UNICEF. We're working in 2 counties. And I think that's very crucial for us because our focus is to reach 0-dose children. And that's where active cooling comes in, where the traditional mode of refrigeration just isn't able to keep the cold chain going on to day 2, day 3 of the immunization campaign. With our system, you're able to carry either a DC charger or a solar panel so that the health workers get access to cold chain beyond 1 day, right? And yeah, that's part of our efforts for the Global South.
Okay, that is nice. So looking back at your whole journey, so what you could give advice to your younger self if you could go back in time?
If I had to go back in time,
Yes.
I think I spent a lot of my childhood fixated on science and technology. Probably a little more time to hobbies would have been nice. And I think it had a lot to do with my upbringing as well. Math and science were very critical for me. Social studies was not. I think if I had to go back, I should have paid more attention to social studies, arts, humanities, which would have helped me become a better leader. And I think that I'm trying to make up for it now.
Okay. So before we wrap up, what message would you like to give for the young innovators or students, I may say?
Certainly. I think start early, firstly. But the most important take back for me from over the past 10 years of running Blackfrog is to keep an eye open for learning. Learning is very critical. And there's something very specific I want to talk about learning, where entrepreneurship is different from research in that the entire game is with people, right? You work with people, the customers, end users, everybody is a stakeholder in your journey and your success, right? Absolutely. And I think something I learned very early on is that if I have to keep learning, I cannot just learn from my own mistakes. It's very important for me to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, that
right?
is.
And because there's just no time for me to commit all of the mistakes and learn myself. I have to ensure my eyes are constantly open. So my advice to students or just young people in general is to keep a broad range of friendship. When you define friendship, I think
choose wisely,
but also have a broader range. Like you need to have that diversity. Like to give you an example on this, right? Like I have friends from back home in my hometown where we do the most ridiculous things over the weekend. I have a close friend who's always getting in trouble with the law, and we're doing just absolutely unacceptable things from a social standpoint. But it's also so much fun because I learned so much from him. And I also am friends with some leading IIHMR scientists and researchers who've developed a implant or somebody who's at the forefront of their medical sciences or their own respective discipline. So I think it's important to have that because as humans, we are biased. right? Like where we want to be with people who we are like,
Yeah.
right? If I am a liberal, I want liberal
Okay.
friends. If I'm conservative, I want conservative friends. And I think it's important to get over that and ensure that you have diversity in your friend group, and that's the best way to learn everybody's viewpoint, which is going to help you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you for staying with us till the end. This is Drishti Patak from IIHMR Startups. So until then, stay curious, stay inspired.